How's it going, everyone? So what I'm going to be talking about today is the upcoming main event for the UFC's Fight Night that goes down on January 17th from Boston, Massachusetts. It pits TJ Dillashaw versus Dominick Cruz for the bantamweight title of the world. Now, as always, before I get into that, I'd like to take a moment and thank my sponsors. Okay, so you guessed it, I still have no sponsors, but that's fine. Who I would like to thank is Pizza Pizza, because they're open late and they're there when you need them. Now, if you don't know what Pizza Pizza is, it's a pizza company. Moving on. TJ Dillashaw, Dominick Cruz, bantamweight title of the world. This is going to be one hell of a fight. TJ Dillashaw, the reigning champion, facing Dominick Cruz, the former champion, who was never actually beaten for his belt, but stripped due to injury. You couldn't write a better script. Now, you also add in the mix that Dominick Cruz had a bad history with TJ's old camp, Team Alpha Male. It adds a little bit of a flair for the dramatic. So, who do I think is going to win? Let me give you my reasons. Now, the biggest thing to me is going to be the subtle differences between these two fighters because they are very similar in how they approach the fight game. Some people even go as far as saying that Dillashaw ripped off Cruz and stole his fighting style. But, you know, take what you will. They're throwing leather. They're moving around. You can argue that Cruz wasn't the first one to come up with foot movement or proper high-volume strikes, whatever have you. It's going to be a good fight. Now, who do I think is going to win? I'll just come out and I'll say it right off the bat. TJ Dillashaw will beat Dominick Cruz. Some people are going to be upset about that, and I can understand it because this fight could be a coin flip fight. But Cruz has way too many question marks surrounding him right now. In the last 5 years, Cruz has fought 3 times due to injury. 3 times. That's not even once a year. And in his last fight against Mizugaki, he crushed him in like the first round, less than 2 minutes. I mean, he just blitzkrieged him. It was over. So what can you really take from that? I mean, this guy's going into a 5-round fight now. And off his last fight, which happened over a year ago, I'm supposed to take that as the measuring stick for him being able to go 5 hard rounds against a guy who moves around, who's in your face, who's a pressure fighter. I mean, that I don't know if I could buy that one. Now, as for Dillashaw, he's not without his faults. I mean, the guy did lose to a Sun Cal. Arguably, it was a split decision. Some people, I'd even say the majority of people, except for the judges, saw that fight in favor of Dillashaw. But before that, I mean, I think it was 2011. For the tough finale, he lost to John Dodson by TKO. And if Cruz is going to win this fight, I think it's going to be in the same manner that John Dodson beat Dillashaw. And that's with Dillashaw coming forward, being a little too over-aggressive, and getting caught coming in. Because that is a tendency of his that even Renan Barão was able to land some strikes on him, is that he overcommits when he senses his opponent's hurt. And sometimes he gets it wrong. So Cruz will have his moments. If he wins it, it's going to be within the first 2 rounds. But if this thing goes to a decision, if it goes past the second, it's definitely going to be Dillashaw's show. I think the guy's faster. I think he hits harder. I think the fact that he's had 10 fights in the last 5 years just means that he's more equipped to be ready for a bout of this nature. I just think the question marks around Cruz is too much. I mean, if this fight was to happen when Cruz was healthy, fighting 3 or 4 times a year, I would pick him in a heartbeat. Cruz is a killer. But he's been off for too long. He's had 2 major, I think actually even 3 major surgeries because his first ACL surgery didn't even work. So, on both knees, might I add. So, a guy who, I can even say he might have had these surgeries happen to him. I'm sorry, these injuries happen to him because of his fighting style, because he was this fast bobbing and weaving sort of machine that just kept moving. I mean, he put a lot of pressure on his joints. So now he's supposed to still take that fighting style. I can't see him changing it. So you got to think he's still going to take the same approach to fighting that he had before when he was winning. And he's going to do it with 2 bum knees and beat the reigning champion. I don't know. That to me, that's a little bit questionable. I can understand some people thinking he'll win. I've seen the guy fight before. If he shows up anything like he used to be, it will be a barn burner. But I think you have to go with the sure thing here. TJ Dillashaw, he looked great against Renan Barão. He looked great against Joe Soto, even though I think he finished him in the 5th round, and it's Joe Soto. So take that with a grain of salt. But the guy's been winning. He's confident. I mean, I think, say what you will about Duane Ludwig, but I think Duane's actually kind of tightened up the holes in his game. I mean, they're both a little odd in the head. They don't come off, like TJ does not come off as smart. I think Cruz absolutely vilified him in one interview. It was like watching someone mentally take someone else's lunch money. It was disgusting. The guy just can't get 2 sentences together and put back a comeback. And don't get me started on Duane Ludwig. I mean, what you hear about him in the news, you don't know if it's true, you don't know if it's false. But regardless, the guys work. They're championship material. He's a great coach. Dillashaw is definitely coming into his own. My money's on Dillashaw. I think Cruz, he'll probably rebound after this. If he does lose, I think he'll definitely be able to put some together if he can stay consistent, injury-free, get some wins under his belt, and then come back at Dillashaw. I guarantee it'll be a more competitive fight, one that he'll maybe even win just from the consistency of his fighting at that time. But at the end of the day, my money's on Dillashaw for this fight, January 17th, UFC Fight Night from Boston. Now, as for the rest of the card, I do plan to do a breakdown of who I think is going to win those bouts. I'll be posting it on my blog later this week, hopefully. If you're interested, hit it up, check it out. As always, people, keep it real. Peace out.